The sequence of death. Definitions are central to the progress of modern science. To study anything, they must be able to define it first. But when it comes to defining death, modern science ties itself into knots. The best definition they have for death is the absence of life. But then again, they have no definition for life either. Defining death or being able to determine the point of death correctly is a necessity because of the social, medical, and legal aspect to life and death. In the olden days, they said if the breath has stopped, the person has died. But then some people who were declared dead by this definition came back to life and a whole lot of chaos ensued. So they went a step further and said if the pulse stops, the heart stops, then it is dead. But again, people came back to life even after their breath and heart had stopped. Today they have a battery of terms: clinical death, brain death, somatic death, heart lung failure, whole brain death, higher brain death, and so on. To hide behind their inability to prescribably define death, this problem is essentially because they are only looking at the manifestation of the process of death and not the cause, which is the exciting of the pancha prana from the physical body. This happened many years ago. A research institute invited me because they wanted to check my gamma waves. Apparently, these are patterns of neural oscillations in the brain that show a correlations to mental activity. At that time, I did not know what these gamma waves were or if I even had them in my brain. I don't usually put myself through this indignation, but that day, due to an obligation I gave in, they have connected me with 14 electrodes and asked me to meditate. I said, I don't know how to meditate. They were a little taken aback. They said, but you teach everyone meditation? Yes, I do, but I teach meditation to people because they don't know how to sit still. In reality, there is no such thing as meditation. There is only stillness. Many levels of stillness because it is very difficult to teach people stillness. The term meditation is used as an intermediary. So I said, if you want, I will sit still, totally still, on all levels. Then they said, okay, sit still, we'll check that. So I sat down. After about 15 minutes, they started hitting me on my knees with some metallic object. Then they tried my ankles. Then they moved to my elbows. You know, that funny place where it hurts the most. I thought, this must be a part of their experiment and kept quiet. But it became very persistent and painful. Then I slowly opened my eyes and asked, did I do something wrong? All of them gave me a weird look and I said, why are you looking at me like this? And they said, our monitor have gone flat. According to our monitor machines, you are dead. I said, that is a great diagnosis. Then they come up with a second opinion. They said, you are either dead or you are brain dead. I said, I will take the first one. I am dead. Is okay with me, but don't call me brain dead. That is insulting. This is what happens if you let machine decide that. Your breath is stopping, heart is stopping, or your brain going flat on monitors is not death. Only when the pancha prana exit the physical body completely, then it is a death. When the breath stops, or when what we call is death happens, the withdrawal of the prana happens over a period of time. All the pranas do not exit the same body at the time. There is a definite pattern in which they exit. This can be observed in some simple ways. For example, it is well documented that if you keep a dead body for over 2 or 3 days, you will notice that the hair will grow. If it was a man and he used to say, you can see these from the facial hair, the nails will also grow. Therefore, in countries where they preserve the dead bodies for a longer time, the undertakers clip the nails and shave the beard. This is not because the skin has dried or sunk. Those factors may make a small contribution, but it is mainly because hair and nails are special in a way because there is no sensation in those part of the body even when you are alive. There is no sensation in these parts because there is no prana vayu in them even when you are alive. But the other vayus are present there. So immediately after death, when prana vayu has exited the body, this part of the body are not affected much. This is why you will observe minimal growth there until the other prana exits the body. It is only because the process of withdrawal of the prana spans over a period of time and there is a window of opportunity for outside intervention and manipulation that can sometimes revive the dead person. It is only because of this it is possible to assist the dead in their journey after death or allow for processes like transmigration. We will be looking at this in more detail in chapter 4. An overview of the withdrawal process can be summarized as follows. Samana Vayu. Once the breath stops, the slow process of the five pranas exiting the body will begin. Of this, Samana Vayu is in charge of maintaining the temperature of the body. The first thing that happens after death is that the body starts cooling down. Since the differential between the atmospheric temperature and the body temperature is significant, the Samana Vayu exists much faster than the Prana Vayu. Within 21 or 24 minutes from the breath stopping, Samana Vayu exits the body completely. Prana Vayu. Once the breath stops, Prana Vayu also starts exiting the body. This means the respiratory action and thought process will begin to recede along with the withdrawal of Prana Vayu. Prana Vayu exits the body completely within 48 to 90 minutes after the breath stops, depending upon the nature of death. If it is a natural death out of old age, it should be over within 64 minutes. But if it is a young and vibrant body, then it can prolong up to 90 minutes. Till this time, the respiratory and thought process is on. If not in the usual sense, in a vague manner. This is why cremation should be deferred for an hour and a half at least. If you keep the body of the person whose breath has stopped on earth or open soil, there is a possibility of revival with a little intervention from the outside. If other aspects of the system are conducive, then the soil and elements can reignite the needed energy to revive life. This is why in the olden days dying people were placed on the ground outside the house hoping for revival. But today, with the body being laid on a coat or a concrete floor, the chances of revival are very remote. Udana Vayu. Between 6 and 12 hours after the breath stops, Udana Vayu exists. Once Udana Vayu goes away, then the buoyancy in the body is also gone. Suddenly the body becomes heavy. The weight does not increase, but you can feel the weight much more simply because Udana Vayu is gone. This is why people feel a big difference between carrying a live person and a dead person. Apana Vayu. Somewhere between 8 to 18 hours after the death has stopped, Apana Vayu exits the body. Once Apana Vayu starts receding in a major way, then the sensationary aspect of the body is gone. Even after someone's breath is gone and they declare dead, they can still feel the sensation. There have been any number of cases where people get terrified because a dead body moves a little bit. There could be a mild twitching in the body because the sensationary activity is still on. And Vyana Vayu, which is the preservative nature of prana, is the slowest to exit. It will continue to do so for up to 11 to 14 days. If the death is absence, If the death is because of the old age and life become feeble, if the death was because of an accident when the life was still vibrant, unless the body is totally crushed, the reverberation of this life will continue from somewhere between 48 to 90 days. For that period, certain processes will continue and there will still be some element of life. During that time, there are things you can do to assist that life. This is the opportunity that death rituals in the Indian culture attempt to make use of. So, with this understanding, how would you define death? Fundamentally, what we call death is certain line or certain stage in the process of disembodiment. In that context, it is appropriate that in the English language you don't diagnose someone as dead, you declare them as dead. You declare someone dead when he or she does not respond to your stimulus or when you do not have access to them anymore. An ordinary person may feel someone is dead if they do not respond to their calls and other kind of physical probing, but a medical professional would not accept this. They have a more sophisticated understanding of life and also have subtle tools and props. They know that with suitable intervention, the life can be revived and the person can be brought back into the body. But if the process of disembodiment has crossed a certain stage, then one will not be responsive to this medical stimulator. Such a person would be declared medically dead. But this would still not be considered spiritual death in the yogic tradition. A person well versed in yoga and tantra has an even finer understanding of life. They have much subtle tools and technique to be able to access that life and possibly restore it. So they would still not declare them spiritually dead. However, if the process of disembodiment has progressed beyond a certain point, then even they cannot restore life into the body. Now, for all practical purposes, that person is completely gone. He cannot be brought back at all. One can only assist their further journey. That is all. So, the answer to the question, when is a person dead, depends largely upon what the purpose of declaration is and what capability does one have to interact with life at the different stages of disembodiment. The more capable you are, the more leeway you will have in the situation.